What up? Welcome to Homegrown Hustle, where local brilliance takes the center stage. I'm your host, Matt Eichmann. Together, we're about to embark on an inspiring journey. Our community thrives on the wisdom of insightful leaders that are right here in our backyard. And we're bringing their expertise to your ears. Whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur or simply seeking inspiration, this podcast is your guide. Join us every week in celebrating innovation, guidance, and the power to inspire greatness. Let's explore the stories that shape our local business landscape, and together, let's ignite the spark of excellence. What's up, everybody? I'm here with Ed Reed. He's the owner of Sincere Detailing Pros. It's a business located by the east corner of 38th Street. Near George Floyd Square. So a real strong business mind, part of my family. We've been going to family events for a couple years together now and looking forward to more of those. But Ed, thank you so much for joining me here today. You are one tough dude, man. Very perseverant. The story you've got is amazing, and I'm looking forward to diving into it. Like May of what year was that?
May 25th of 2020.
You were
still detailing cars, still during the riots, and still during, because I'd had to change my hours.
I mean, what else are you going to do? You got to make money. You got people on your team
no choice.
as well.
And then I'm in a contract for the building. So I had no choice. I couldn't go anywhere. You know what I mean? I'm locked in 6-7 years on a contract. So it's like, it's either do that or wind up in litigation with the owners of the building. And then I put a lot of investment in that building.
To build it so it
to
worked
get it
for your
work
business.
For my business, absolutely.
We're going already, right? We're just gonna roll into it then. We'll have to record an intro after. So your back's against the wall, and outside on the other side of that wall, shit's literally burning to the ground. Like that's what's going on in your world, right?
Yeah,
that's freaking wild, dude. Most people tuck tail and run.
Yeah. I had no choice, One day when I woke up, the day after George Floyd got killed, I got a phone call from a cousin who rolled by that neighborhood and saw the yellow tape out. And she asked me, was I okay? I just left work at 6:30. George Floyd died around 8:30, 9 o'clock, around that hour.
Wow.
And so once I got that call, that next morning when I came to work, which was at 6:30 in the morning, people were standing up there at that bus stop, putting roses on the bus stop, saying, the police had killed a man. And that's when I found out everything what took place. The riots didn't start until maybe a month after George Floyd got killed. It started, you can see the traffic started building up over there. So then I was just like, wow, this is crazy. And I noticed right away within that month that I was getting calls, and I was looking at my company's stat track by a demographic where people are viewing my business. 177,000 people just that month viewed my company based off of what happened up there. We tracked it.
Interesting.
I was getting phone calls from people all across the world asking me, hey,
they're just trying
what happened up there? They're trying to get, because
okay.
They're looking at what businesses were over there when this took place.
Interesting.
So all of a sudden my phone calls changed from
customer service
to, hey, what happened to George Floyd? Do you know anything about it? And then CNN came over there.
You can't even control that either, because unless you turn your marketing off and shut your business down, like that phone number, that's your lifeline to your business.
Then it got really bad, and then the barricades went up. Homeless encampments started moving in the middle of the streets, and then now we got this big homeless encampment in the middle of the street. Then we got it boarded off in the middle of the streets on every corner, where our customers had to come through a dangerous alley. The alleys were so bad because there were drive-by shootings happening through the alleys.
You showed me some of the videos that you got at Easter.
It was horrible, man. And so, I over the 3 years of George Floyd's death, I was so depressed. So I wrote a book. I started writing down everything that was taking place and the things that were affecting me. And I remember I had a couple arguments with the guys and the gangs that were out there trying to control the whole situation.
Yeah.
And so they were yelling at me, I'm yelling at them. And realistically, I didn't think that I could have lost my life arguing with these people out here.
But you're defending your your
Yeah,
business, your
yeah, and they were
livelihood.
hanging out in the parking lots where my customers
These
had
are
to
not
park.
normal business problems, my friend. Like, not a lot of like, I don't have those business problems. I didn't have them at that time either.
Yeah, yep.
So like that, the perseverance to like stay in business and not be afraid or come up with another option. Like you're obviously like a big part of that community over there.
Absolutely.
You're not just like popping up because it is George Floyd Square and now there's a lot of attention here. Like this is something like it's bigger than that for you.
Yeah, and I mean, just you stating that, it reminds me of a lot of the activists who were over there just trying to gain fame off a man that just died while our
It's yeah,
businesses are
so
sitting here
messed up.
suffering. And I just was a person that kind of stayed out of it because it was it was a huge politically
You're
on
just
on a
trying to
level
run
where,
business
right,
over
just trying to
here.
run my business and just trying to make sure that I can get customers while this is taking place. And it was just difficult.
So when you started writing, were you writing that like with the intent, like, hey, this is gonna be a book, or did it kind of just happen?
No, I just started writing in a journal based off of the things that I saw. You know, like it started turning into a thing where I would run to this for comfort, to just
Interesting.
write something down because
That's
I felt
deep.
like nobody was listening to me. Like I was even calling cops over when we seen things happen and seen killings.
They're like, nope,
They were
not going
telling
over
us, so,
there.
hey, we can't come there. You know, there's a no-go zone.
Good
Our
luck.
officers
Good
can't.
luck, Mr. Reed.
Oh man, they totally left us to fend for ourselves. It was ridiculous. I've never seen something like that
War
ever in my life.
zone. There's war zone, bro. It's the trenches.
Man, I can't even tell you. It's Beirut. I
Like
mean, like it was.
I remember we we had a squirrel inspection over in that area, and literally the house next door to the home we were inspecting was on fire.
Mhm.
Like,
Wow.
but like businesses are still running, people still have problems that need to be solved. Like all
Yeah.
that like kept happening, but it changed a lot for that community and really for the whole city of Minneapolis, right? There's this huge microscope being put on like how Minneapolis is handling it.
Mhm.
And like I don't even know if they're doing their best. But the impact that had on the community, like they have to like address that some way. And I know you've got a lawsuit going on there because of some of the things that have happened, and we can get into some of that. But
Mhm.
let's talk a little bit about your book first, because I know a lot of it,
Sure.
like the whole story or a lot of the stories in there,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
So people can go and they can get it at Barnes and Noble and all that, like
Yep.
because this is recently published. What, two
2
months
months
ago?
ago. Yep. The name of the book is called Hush Hush Minneapolis, MPLS, Orders to the Spies. And basically what this book talks about is how they disenfranchise black-owned businesses and how they treat people when a national emergency happens, which is called when a neighborhood is bombarded, and they claim that their charter, Minneapolis charter, was bombarded. And my point is, that's not our fault. You guys started this.
Yeah,
You guys
but they're
created
handling it
this.
like collateral damage, essentially.
Absolutely. And so if your charter got bombarded, that's not our fault. You know, you guys decided an action to take action and do something that was unlawful,
Mhm.
and it affected this whole community and this whole state. You know what I mean? And
It
so
infected the whole country, maybe
country,
even the
absolutely,
world, bro. Like, let's
absolutely, the
be
world,
honest. This
yeah.
wasn't
Let's
like a
be honest,
small
yeah.
thing.
Yep, you're right. You're right. I can admit that. You know, and it's
Like,
just
you might
it,
be like desensitized from being so close to it a little bit.
well, the whole thing is, I still have nightmares about what I saw. When you see people brains and stuff getting blown out, and a pregnant woman getting killed with a baby in her stomach, her head
My
got
God,
shot off by her boyfriend,
that stuff ain't
and
going
and
into
and
the news.
just not only just that, it's just things that took place that the cops had no control of. They had no care. You know, they couldn't do anything about it. That's what they told a lot of our business owners when we called 911 repeatedly to report these crimes that we saw. And we're just doing our jobs as people in the community and as business owners in the community. And this is what took place, man. And so this book just basically talks about everything, like a comprehensive report on what happened to me and what I saw and how I had to keep my head down and be quiet, and like, and that's why
So,
all this is coming out right now.
yeah, because
A lot of fear
you've
was
been
going
all over
on.
the news. You've been on a lot of stuff talking about this because like George Floyd was murdered 5 years ago,
Mhm.
right? But the the community is still feeling it. The businesses are still it's still an ongoing issue. It didn't stop just because it's not in the news anymore, right? So I don't want to put words in your mouth,
Yeah.
but turning that journal into a book, like there's a little bit of thought that went into that, right? So at what point did you realize like, hey, I gotta make sure other people can read this?
Well, the thing was, it was catastrophic what
Mm,
took place, and I would, and the part of it was, I didn't think people would believe my story
mm.
if I were to tell them, hey, this is what happened. Hey, this is what happened. But I organized it and I put it in a book so people can really feel and understand what really took place here while George Floyd got killed, right after George Floyd, how the neighborhood turned out after that, what's taking place now. And it's really on a political level, but yet it's on a level where this is somebody who actually was right here that saw it all and then
A
just
unique perspective from a business owner too. It wasn't just somebody; it was a business that.
absolutely. And my business is 50 feet away from that bus station where he was killed at. And we're on the same block of East 38th Street. So I'm
Mhm.
literally 4 business from that corner of Cup Foods, where Cup Foods lied. And it's sad what's being taking place there now. The book talks about now that the area has become a national monument. Now it's
Traffic's been redirected. The whole.
absolutely. Yep. And that blockage, there's still blockage there in areas. There's shrines in the streets. There's homeless people dropping off clothes for homeless people in beds. And it's like a dump site. It's turned
Damn.
into a dump site now. And like we're still over here working our businesses. There's restaurants still over there open. There's bakeries still over there open. And just like, I mean, it's horrible how we're not making ends meet because people hear about that area and they know about the crime that took place there. They turn away automatically. They
Yeah.
don't even want to come
Oh,
down
that
there
was
because they don't
sad.
trust it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They just think about 2020, what happened, and that
absolutely.
whole thing.
Absolutely. And it's totally unfair to us that we have to deal with that and all of our thousands of dollars of advertisement that we put into having our businesses function the way they should. That's been cut off. That's it's I mean, it's like we're putting our money into something that's never gonna be anything. And
I mean,
so
you have to solve problems that aren't normal business problems, and they were created in the wake of like a shitty situation. But the fact of the matter is, there were decisions by the government that are you're still being impacted by, and there's still decisions that are or aren't happening that are impacting your business with the current state of what's going on over near George Floyd
sure.
Square.
Well, they're ignoring us, and the reason why I said they're ignoring us is because obviously they know what they want to do to that area. They just don't want to tell the public that they're not going to move on doing anything to that area until it becomes profitable for the city to be able to regain back money that they've lost.
Forget
They've
it.
lost money from George Floyd dying. There's
Yeah.
$49 million of money, of taxpayers' money that's been lost over a senseless cop and 4 other cops just not doing their job. I mean, you had this man in the car, take him downtown, give him a rest like
Mm,
everybody else would get arrested, and
yeah.
but yet you took him back out of the vehicle and you put your knee on his neck. That has nothing to do with us as businesses. We sat there and watched it. We sat there and endured the mishap that you guys caused on our corner. And now we've suffering still to this day from that. And I can't even tell you how bad we've suffered financially. The numbers are in the millions, based off of what we lost. I mean, some of our businesses have been there for 15 years. We're
Mm-hmm.
branded over there and people know who we are and know what we do in that area,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not fair. We're close to the downtown hospitals. We used to receive a lot of business from them.
There's
They
no
don't even come
traffic.
down the way.
They,
Yeah,
they can't.
none.
They have to go a different way.
They have to go to a different way. And people are they've had this fear because there's no law there. They took away the police protection within
Still,
that area and from the businesses. Absolutely. Until they got cops coming in there checking around when they want to check around, but no real presence that say, we feel that there's adequate police
yeah. I
protection
mean,
there.
and it's a shitty situation on their end too, man. Like, I can't imagine what the conversations are like, trying to come to some type of solution, right? Because like I feel like there's not a playbook for what happened here. So I don't know anything about leadership and the decision making there, but the fact of the matter is that there's still need within the community. And not only did Minneapolis lose millions of dollars, like you said, but the other thing that happened is there's a significant amount of distrust that's going on.
Absolutely.
They lost the trust, and when
Absolutely.
that happens, the ability to make any type of change or impact, it doesn't happen instantly. Like, you have to win that back. So
Sure.
in my mind, if I were on the other side, I'd be trying to look for ways we can win trust back, and things we can do that not only impact the communities that need it, but also like demonstrate to people like, hey, we're on the same team, because
Yeah.
we are. Because this, like, all the businesses, the city of Minneapolis, St. Paul, the whole state, like, if there isn't cooperation, like, it just ain't gonna work. And
Sure.
because like the businesses to be successful, it has to be a healthy community. The
Mhm.
community to be successful, it has to be healthy businesses.
Right.
And
Yep.
that, like, it's a requirement of our society nowadays. So
Well, a good start would be, this is not a perfect city. They need to admit
I don't
that.
think it exists.
They need to admit that.
Mhm.
And so their fear is to admit
False.
that they were negligent, that they were at fault. And so them not saying that, they're causing more harm and more pain to the community, because that's what we're looking for to hear. We know that people make mistakes, but if you can't admit
A level of
that
ownership.
an ownership,
And-
that's
and a commi-
hurting
and a
this
commi-
whole community.
Yeah, there's got to be some sort of legal reason there, right? Because I think everybody knows we wish it went differently,
Mhm.
right? And that it didn't play out where it is, but
Right.
we're where we're at, right? So
Yeah.
how do we get everybody aligned and moving in the right direction? Because what it sounds like is this area is going to be exploited now for like a monument for people to come and be like a tourist type of area.
Absolutely.
And I like, it would make sense if from a business standpoint, like, we need to do something to have this help the city, but
Mhm.
that displaces a lot of people too. And without involving them in the conversation,
Sure.
you're just going to
Well,
railroad them.
a lot of stuff took place
But-
where they fixed Lake Street to make Target look good. Target got bombarded. They messed Target up. So
Yes, they did more than mess.
yeah.
Target
So
up.
so basically, what I'm saying is, you can't just show love to top corporations and then tell the mom pop businesses, "Hey, screw you guys.
Not good
You guys are
optics.
nothing to us."
It's not good optics.
We're gonna have Target, because Target is a big time corporation.
pay a lot of taxes.
Pay a lot of tax. You guys are, I don't know how many locations Target have across the globe, but yet they fixed all those little businesses up around there and gave those owners money, $12.5 million,
Damn.
for them to come back and get their businesses fixed up. AutoZone and everybody over there in the Hiawatha area, but didn't do anything where the George Floyd area happened at on the East 38th Street, left our businesses and left our street looking crazy.
Wild.
You bought SA out and did eminent domain with SA, but yet you left all of our small businesses that have been there for over 15 years and some 20 years, just as long as SA has been there. You left our businesses there looking crazy.
Was there like communication initiated to you guys, to your businesses at all?
They said nothing.
So you had to initiate communication as you see this play out.
Absolutely. See, one thing, what broke the law with the city is you can't come and barricade businesses in and then say, "Hey, this street is shut down." You're asking our businesses to shut down along with that street.
What you mean shut down?
Yeah, they said that street. They said, "We're going to shut this street down. This street is shut down. It's a no-go zone." That's basically what they said, because why did they go back, Mayor Jacob Fry, and say, "Okay, we're reopening the street"? Well, okay, whoever told us that it was closed?
Damn.
We're working here. Our businesses are down here. You're blocking us in with barricades so traffic can't come in and out of there. Because
How are you still in business, bro?
if I didn't own it right out, meaning that I never took out a bank loan to start my business, If I didn't own my business right out of pocket, my business would have been closed a long time ago.
How many businesses went out of business?
Man, I can't even. There's probably about maybe 6 businesses over there that went out of businesses. The other people who are still in business, they own the properties, they own the land.
That's like their saving grace at this point.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then they got tenants that help fuel the fire for those businesses to stay alive. Those tenants are gone. So we lost business revenues, we've lost tenants, and we've been barricaded up more than 3.5 years. They keep saying, oh, 1 year we had the street shut down. No, you guys had us barricaded in there for 3.5 years. You took the barricades out, and then now you guys kept the shrines in the middle of the street. So now people, it's almost like a roundabout. But I'm being honest, whether that happened or not, you guys wouldn't have did that on 79th and France and had shrines all out in the street in front of all those businesses and had it all bombarded and barricaded off on 79th and France. George Floyd would have been a one-night thing, not a 4-year thing, if that was in Edina. And that's my point. You know, and then not only that we're Black business owners, the 8 of us that are suing the city, they're treating us like, hey, you know, oh, we don't care about these Black businesses here. And it's not a race.
I hope they're not saying that, because
that's how the perception we're getting.
That's what you're hearing, even though the words might not being
absolutely
said.
Right.
That's what's being said.
Yeah, that's what's being
and that's
said.
What you and
that's
definitely what you
we're
feel.
Hearing.
That's and like so with all the lost trust, what else would anybody hear? Like, I think anybody in your shoes would feel the same way. And I know people are going to listen. They're going to think, oh, well, whatever, he shouldn't be doing that. Well, who are you? You didn't have to live through this.
Yeah. I mean, we were just businesses trying to function while that took place. We were collateral damage. We were minding our own business, and that took place on our corner. And the sad part is, we wasn't out there protesting with Black Lives Matter. Nobody. We didn't even see Black Lives Matter
you're
out
cleaning
there.
Cars, man.
Yeah,
you own a detailing business.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
And you still do, which, like, for me, like, the perseverance there is remarkable. And plus, you got this on the side. Like, you're not the type of guy that just rolls over. And that's the only reason, like, you're doing a lot of this is because it's not right, and you're not just going to let them get over on
a lot of the business owners are scared to speak out. They're scared. They after what we saw, I mean, you can't tell us what we saw. People are downtown deflecting what we feel and what we saw. Okay? I saw 6 people get killed. Okay? 2 of them died in my arms that I tried to resuscitate. 911 was called repeatedly, and the ambulance won't come to support anybody who's dead laying on the ground without a police presence over there. The barricades had people so blocked in that when the dead bodies hit the ground, they were asking us to walk the bodies a block down the street to Cedar Avenue.
What you mean?
The ambulance was parked down a block down the street, asking us to bring a dead body down there so that they could help us get this person to the hospital.
Because they couldn't. Their hands were tied.
They couldn't. They were scared to come into in the barricades because they were hearing all the crimes that was taking place over there. When nightfall hit, it was like a war zone. People were getting killed. People were getting robbed. Protesters, people who were coming to visit the memorial were the ones being robbed. They didn't know that.
Yeah, but people were coming from out of town just
to visit and see what happened over here, and they were the ones being robbed and didn't even know it.
Sheesh.
Yeah,
and it's still probably happening too.
Yeah, well,
I mean, maybe not at that level, but
maybe not at that level. But I mean, after they did a 70 man indictment with the Blood gang members and other gang members that came in there. They did an indictment, and it's been it's been kind of quiet, somewhat. But what we've saw and endured over the first 3 years, that doesn't convince us. I got to watch my back. The first 3 years I worked with a bulletproof vest on. I've never had to do that because I feared for my life. They were in the alley shooting left and right. And then the city put speed bumps in the alley because they were driving 50 miles per hour through the alley. The city put speed bumps through there to slow down the drive-by shootings. Yet you guys can come put speed bumps there, but you guys can't get police over there to police this area. That is ridiculous to me.
Interesting. I can't even fathom how difficult navigating the optics from a governmental standpoint. Like I can't even think about the other side, but the fact of the matter is, like, you're still in business, but you're going to make sure that this conversation gets finished and that you actually get to have it, right? Because
Absolutely.
otherwise, like, people just going to try to forget it, and hopefully Ed don't say nothing, and
That's
it
what the
just goes
city's trying
away.
to do. You can't forget something without apologizing and talking about what actually happened with people where it mattered at. And then yet you throw $12.5 million into an area to reconstruct it from the mayhem that was caused, but yet there's an area down here where it actually took place at. What's so appalling to me is this took place and riots took place all across this
Yeah,
country. But yet you guys can settle with people for their businesses and losses in Seattle and all these other places that took place. And it had nothing to do with Minneapolis and East 38th Street where it happened at with us. There's 12 of us over there that lost our livelihoods, and we're being treated as if, hey, so what? You guys don't mean a thing to us. We're going to reconstruct this street. We're going to do what we want to do to it. And we don't care if your businesses stay or leave. That's how they're treating us.
so there's not even like a active conversation that's taking place
They've
there.
never had an active conversation with all 12 of the businesses over there, and then other businesses that were lost that moved out of there because they were being threatened that they're going to burn their buildings down while they're asleep upstairs in their private apartments and things that they own. I mean, it was a
Bro,
tragic thing that took place over there, man. And we were sitting there like sitting ducks. They left us there to fend for ourselves. They didn't care if we reported that folks were being killed right in front of us. How ridiculous is that?
I actually don't even have words, man. Like, it's so the where are you at right now with that? Like, obviously this book has a lot of this in there, right? But the conversation about
My
what
business is still
happened.
struggling, man. All the businesses over there are still struggling. We barely can make ends meet, man. We're coming off our life retirement, spending money back into the businesses, hoping that something will turn around. People are saying, well, why don't you just leave? Well,
This
guess
is
what?
my home.
And
That's
people are
why.
saying, well, why don't you just leave? Why didn't you just get up out of there? And those are people that don't understand how business works. Okay. You can't just tell somebody and you don't even know how a business works on what to do and how to react. Because for one, I got over $100,000 or more invested just in the building where I'm working out of.
And
For
you
two, my equipment is heavy as hell.
just
How
move,
can I
Ed.
just pick all that
Yeah,
up and move?
just
And then
move.
not only that, I'm in the middle of business.
Just move.
Yeah, it's
It's
just
easy.
ridiculous.
Yeah, no.
It's ridiculous. And then I'm in a contract where I'm tied in until my contract says, okay, hey Ed, what do you want to do here? Do you want to resign or
Yeah.
what? But I got obligations here.
Mhm.
It's ridiculous.
So you're like, there's active court proceedings going on here,
Mhm.
right? So I know you've been on the news. So is that more around like talking about the book, or has that case actually like been elevated to like the national level for news?
Sure. Yeah, it's on a national level for news because it has something to do with George Floyd and the actions of the officers and Derek Chauvin. Because it created our company, it created a hostile environment for our businesses to operate, and so the lawsuit consists of a few things. One, the blockage and the barricades, how they barricaded us in, which caused our revenues to plummet.
Mm.
Two, the lack of police protection. There were no polices when we called repeatedly, and that's against the law. As business owners and taxpayers of the city, you can't run away from those businesses when we call 911 and we need your help. And there's dead bodies out here in the front of us. You denied that help for us, okay? And then three, discrimination. I mean, all of those business owners are minority businesses, and we've been discriminated on by the people and the mayor and the city's actions. I
Just the
mean,
process around
yeah,
it. Like,
absolutely.
if they're
You're neglecting us.
it's is it like an insurance thing on their end? Like, cause they ain't paying for this stuff out of pocket, probably. Like, is there like city insurance that like why is there a reason why?
I wouldn't know. and they're trying their hardest not to let us know because our cases are up for dismissal. So we have to argue the cases,
So
with the city.
it might go to a federal court, is what you're
If they
saying.
dismiss our case, we are going to federal. Bottom line. I mean, we've already got it set up where we're going to the Supreme Court with our cases. Bottom line. And if they're playing litigation games with us, they're acting like our claims are not legit. I mean, like you got to think about this. You barricade some businesses in, and you shut down every corner of the 38th Street corridor. All four sides of the street were barricaded. And then you tell us this street is shut down. Basically, what are you telling our businesses when you say that?
Don't matter.
Absolutely. They didn't care.
Or maybe they're just surprised you're in business even still. But that's not an excuse.
But I mean, they didn't go over there to see what the excuse was. They stayed in their
nobody go over
offices
there.
and they stayed working back in their offices. They never came down into that area. Tim Walz has never been to that area. And if Mayor Jacob Fry came to that area, I never seen him. He's never came and shook hands with me down there and said, "Hey, Ed, what's going on?" And to even talk with us about what our claims are or anything. It's ridiculous.
So, I mean, I'm not in your shoes, but just the fact, like you talking about taking something to federal court, like to Supreme, I got a little scared there, and that's fucked up. Shit, like the system's supposed to be designed to like advocate for our
Sure.
like our rights, right? Like the
Sure.
American dream, and that's kind of been stripped from you, and you have no fear about this. And I don't think there should be fear, but like the level that it's gotten to, like that's a lot to have on your shoulders.
Well, I
you know?
lost everything.
Yeah.
And I'll fight for my life. Okay.
And for the
This is
people
my
in your
life.
community.
This is all that I know. I've been doing this for over 20 years and I've been in business for 15 years. This is all that I know. I have a thing where, I've been detailing on a high level for many, many years. I mean, there's not a lot of people in this state that can make cars look like our company, make cars look.
You work with a bunch of dealerships.
Yeah.
You do B2B and B2C, and you've been doing it.
Absolutely. And a lot of people are familiar with me, and we've worked with the Polads. We've worked with a lot of corporations, Feldman's Mercedes. We've worked with a lot of corporations, the Jeff Belzer brothers. We've worked and did projects for them way out in Lakeville. So we've been everywhere. And we've worked with a lot of corporations to get their vehicles looking good for them to resell on their used car markets. And my company, we're known for what we do. We love what we do. We have skilled guys that work with us. And it's just like, I've lost my whole staff because of this, man. And I've lost all of my revenues because of this, man. I mean, like my business has not been the same. My financial status has not been the same. I mean, I'm 45 years old. I've worked 15 long, hard years. And you think that my company is going to work 15 more hard years?
This should be when you're hitting stride.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You've created that foundation.
We're heading towards retirement as we're getting older, and so when business gets affected like this, it'll make any man stand out and fight. Because that's what I'm going to do, man. I got to fight for these other businesses because they're scared to speak out. They feel ashamed to speak out because of what the city has done to us.
I mean, it's a tough topic, bro. Like from any angle, I don't care where you're at. Like it's tough. Like it sucked for the entire country for a while, and it still does suck. It still comes up in conversation. I'm sure it's on the news in some type of dialogue somewhere at least once a day. So it's still there, and really like some type of resolution happening at like the epicenter of it all, I think could go a really long freaking way to move the needle for the resolution, right? And like get some resolution for everybody that's lost all this trust across the country, but especially in Minneapolis and right there on 38th in Chicago.
Well, they're scared of this subject because they played it as if it was a black-white thing. And this was not a black-white thing. This was a systematic thing that happened where officers came in there acting tough Tony and killed a man, whether he was a bad man, whether he was on drugs or not. He didn't deserve not to get a regular arrest and go downtown and get the booking process like every other criminal. That's the case here.
that started it, and that,
Yeah,
but then all the other things, there's more decisions that have continued to lead and get us to where we're at, where you're
absolutely.
even having to think as a business owner that you have to go to Supreme Court and advocate for yourself.
Absolutely. And I mean, like, I mean, it's definitely a big topic, and a lot of people wasn't aware of what took place with us till 4 years or 3 years in, until they start hearing the lawsuits blare. But we've been feeling this way from day one.
Well, and now like there's, instead of just all these little news clips that get edited and whatever, you're having more dialogues like this. On one of the interviews, I believe I heard you trying to talk to President Trump or something like that. Like it's that big of a discussion, and it can continue to go that direction because you ain't backing down.
When I saw the fires, I got a call from my son early that morning, and he said, "Dad," he started crying. He said, "Are you okay?" I said, "What's going on?" He said, "Turn it on the TV. The whole city's burning down." Right then and there, based off of, because I was in that area, I tried to get a hold of Donald Trump right away because he was in presidency at that time. I tried to alert them and let them know what was taking place
You did that from
over here.
Jump Street.
I did that from Jump Street. I was so scared and I was worried about my business being burned down. I would have done anything to protect where I'm working.
You went straight to the top
Oh, I
too,
went straight to the top.
and you was calling 911, but wasn't shit happening
Yeah,
there.
I even called Homeland Security. We saw people on top of the buildings with rifles getting ready to shoot people who were coming in support of George Floyd, whether they were white or black. There were people on the roofs with rifles aiming down on people and military outfits. And those were the people that came into town that looted from Lake Street all the way up to Uptown. That's who they were. They were about 70 guys on mountain bikes. And I tried to alert them and tell them that they was not listening. No one would listen to me.
They gonna listen now. And this book, I know you're selling tons of those, and you've got, you're working with a couple companies just to make sure that like that book does well. One, from a business standpoint, but two, to make sure that it gets out.
Yeah,
Because
and that book is incredible because it really speaks volume about how they treat small businesses in America, not just black businesses, but all businesses in America, how they treat them, and how when something like this, let's say for instance California, those fires, right? Now they're doing eminent
yeah,
domain. Now they're giving those people less than what their properties were worth. And so the city is winning big by getting their properties back and being able to rebuild and then resell at a high price, while those people who lost their building or lost their homes have to go shop at a 7.8 interest rate right now. How is that fair?
it ain't.
See, and that's what this narrative that the city is running from, because that they're not going to fix that area until they figure out how it's profitable for the city to make money. They're going to sit on it like an egg all day. They know that it's a national monument. They know that it's worth tons and millions of dollars because it attracts people to come into this city to actually visit the city and then go and shop and do commerce. And so those businesses are paying a tax in. So it works hand in hand. It works hand in hand for the city to make profits. And that's what it's all about right now, dude. The city don't give a damn about any of us over there except for how can we reconstruct this area so that we can start making money.
I mean, so that moment in time, like now it's turned into that,
Yeah.
where it's a monument, and it impacted lives across the country. So no wonder people are coming here, right? But like, how do we do that in a way where it actually like brings life back to the community instead of just crushing it down even more and then painting this new picture that we want it to look like without involving the people within that community. You're essentially like just trying to shut it down and like like starve them out almost, but like a war tactic type of thing. Like if you can't sustain yourself for long enough, then like you're just gonna go out of business and go away.
They knew what this would do to us. They knew that by blocking those and putting those barricades down there, the businesses would bleed out financially, and then the gangs would fight themselves and kill each other off, where they don't have to go in there and do a doggone thing.
I hate to think
That's
that
what it
it's
sounds
done
like to
with, and
me.
I know it sounds like that because like you experienced all that, but I hate to think, but I can't know that there wasn't intent behind that, right? Like, how do you know if there is intent or isn't intent? It doesn't freaking matter. The fact of the matter is that's what's happening. And until a conversation happens or like you get compensated and there's change being made in the community by the city and the state, maybe even like at the country level, like something to help this area that impacted everybody.
I just feel like from what I saw over 4 years, I don't see any of the businesses being able to bounce back from this.
And I don't even know how much money is the right amount of money there even. Like I don't even know how whoever's job it is to come up with what that figure is comes up with it, because I don't even think whatever figure they come up with could actually be a reasonable figure to compensate you or anybody else operating a business for what they had to endure.
Well, they don't care about the figure amount because they don't want to help us.
They're just going to ignore it.
They want to ignore it. They want to throw the cases out. They want to play litigation tactics. They want to play all these games with these businesses after we've lost everything. And it wasn't our fault. It was not our fault. And the city sits here and says, oh, it wasn't our fault either. Well, why wasn't it your fault? That guy was on the clock of the city's watch. Okay? He killed a man. And it caused something to our businesses by that happening there. And a riot broke out right there in front of our companies.
So really, because of that point, none of the rest of the conversation can even take place, because until like that happens, like you can't really talk about how do we as business owners support what you're trying to do as a city in this area, because we care about it. Like you can't even get to that point because that first little bit you just touched on can't happen or isn't happening, whatever reason.
It has to come from the top. It has to come from the top first and say, hey, look here, guys, we wronged you guys. That's how that conversation has to start.
And then
we wronged you guys, and we know you guys deserve more than how we've treated you guys, but we're trying to fix what we can. And by the way of fixing it is show that you care. Don't just talk and be running your mouth and saying the things that you guys are saying and keep on persuading these businesses like you're going to pay attention to us.
Well, and don't do shit that doesn't actually impact the businesses and doesn't leave them feeling that. Because you can come up with a bunch of different things, but if you don't have a conversation, like you just trying to throw stuff at it and hope it goes away.
They are so scared to come to that area and speak with us. And it's so sad when I tell you this, when they send reporters, they send black reporters to deal with their urban area. Does that make sense? They don't send white reporters to come down there and talk with us. But let us be in Edina and all these other places wanting to talk with you guys. You guys would send a white reporter down there because it's Edina. But yet they go, oh, that's the urban area of the city. We're going to send black folks over there to talk with black folks. That is ridiculous to me. And that's what we're seeing. I'm just telling you stuff that I've been seeing.
Yeah, you're seeing a pattern. I'm
noticing the pattern, you know, because there's Asians down there. There's LGBTQ community people who own businesses down there. There's blacks that own businesses down there. There's Arabian people that own businesses down there, from Morocco, people from all over this country that run businesses in that area. But yet, you guys saw what took place on TV, and you saw all these shootings break out that you guys just didn't come to patrol, and you couldn't come patrol because 444 officers got bombarded, and they were trying to burn down the precinct with them on top of the roof. The officers took their badges and laid them on the table and ran up out of there and screamed PTSD 2 years after George Floyd's death. But yet you're telling our businesses that we sat there and watched 26 people get killed. You're telling us we don't have PTSD? You're telling us that we don't have these things? They're telling us what we don't have downtown.
They're telling you by not engaging in a conversation.
Absolutely. They're telling our lawyers what we feel that would happen to them. And our lawyers are telling us, well, they feel that this happened to y'all. Well, guess what? They wasn't there.
Read the book, man.
Yeah, the book will tell you everything.
About to be a Netflix on this shit.
It's ridiculous, man. That book is a comprehensive report on what happened to us as businesses down there. It was a lawless area for 3 to 4 years. Nobody came to our aid. And then they go, oh, well, we brought officers up there in August of 2023. Well, guess what? George Floyd died May 25th, 2020. Where were you guys from the start of 2020 all the way up until 2023? You guys didn't patrol for us for 3 years.
That's crazy.
When we were screaming bloody murder and my clients had to see shootouts and lay on the ground because we saw someone get killed right running past us. This guy died on another side of the street. And when I called 911, the 911 dispatch referred me to another person to handle this situation. How ridiculous is that?
I mean, nobody, like, that's definitely not what your taxes are paying for. I'm pretty sure a higher level of service is what would be
These people don't
expected.
care about us, man.
I do, though. And that's why we brought you on here, because I believe that, like, in order for anything to happen, to move this in the right direction, the conversation has to happen, and people got to listen to it and be willing to sit at the table and go through some of the tough stuff, you know, and because you've been going through it, and you're gonna keep going through it because you're an advocate, you're a strong-minded and strong-willed business owner who's taking care of a community that you've served for years, and that's very inspiring for me. Like, we need more businesses like that. We need more
I love my
business people
community.
like that.
I love my community. I went to school in that community. I graduated in that
Yeah, bro,
community.
you from there.
I
I know.
played football in that community
Mhm.
as a child. And all I've done is just, I've watched all these leaders come through. And the leadership that we have right now is the worst leadership that I've ever seen versus what I've saw previous that came in here. I mean, like, I can go down the line. Jesse Ventura, Sharon Sells Belton, Brian Heron. A lot of these people in the inner city community have done good work for these communities. I mean, Andrea Jenkins is an exception. She's the head ward. She's the head president of Ward 8. She's not a bad person, but you know what? They left boundaries for her.
There's red tape. She can't.
They red taped her where she can't go past that line to help the businesses or the community. It was sad, man. It was sad. And now it's all about what are we going to do with that area now?
So what do you think the Minneapolis community needs to hear about this that they haven't been hearing?
We need to get everybody together. We need to get all the businesses together. A few people in the community, get them together with these leaders, Tim Waltz, Mayor Fry, City Council, and we all need to sit down and have this conversation and have this talk and have this dialogue because that's where it starts. Yeah. Without them, because see, the whole thing is the city will never admit that they were negligent. That's why we're fighting. That's what we're fighting for right now. The city will never admit that they were negligent, that they left us to fend for ourselves, that those officers that sworn duty ran off the job when they seen that this riot got out of hand, a riot that they're trained for. How could they, which time did they get PTSD? Did they get PTSD during the training or did they get PTSD during the riots? Because the military, when the riot gets bad, that's when the military steps in and goes, hey, it's out of hand. I see you guys have been bombarded. But guess what? This could have been prevented. He had 3 days to get somebody down here to keep this from happening. And he didn't do that. He thought that the police could handle it. And it was over their heads. That's how this took place. And they need to admit that.
It's so sad. I mean, it brings back
You
like
can't,
a lot of...
if I harm a friend and I did something wrong to a friend, me and him can't continue our relationship without me coming to him and saying, hey, man, this is where I did wrong.
A level of humility, humbling yourself to the situation.
Absolutely.
So that the air can get cleared and we can actually move forward.
That
just ain't still there.
And they're wondering why the city has not moved forward. You know why? Because they're not admitting guilt, fault, that they have flaws, that we've made mistakes. They're throwing people in jail for 20 years and can't even tell this man, hey, I'm sorry for putting you in there for 20 years. And we know you didn't do it. You're having a hard time doing that. You're having a hard time saying that those officers killed George Floyd and it wasn't a fentanyl overdose.
I don't know anybody that would have an easy time saying that. But there's people who are in roles and some of them have been elected into those roles. And like, that's part of what comes with that.
But you go arrest a criminal and you expect him to admit that he did what he did, but you can't? Does that make sense? A man commits a killing. He says not guilty, but you know he's guilty. You saw him kill somebody. And I want to use this analogy for the Manginione kid who killed the healthcare worker. They saw him do this on camera. They found the gun on him. They found messages saying what he was going to do. But yet he goes to court and plays litigation games with the state and say, hey, I'm not guilty. You're wasting time.
Yeah.
Somebody's family was harmed behind this. But yet you're playing litigation games because why? You can't say, hey, I killed the man and you guys caught me red-handed. I'm sorry. You know?
Yeah.
He can't do that. But yet the city is doing what they did to us. And we know that you guys did this to us. And you're doing the same thing Manginione doing, but yet you got him in trial, waiting to throw him in jail. And you're sitting here and you're telling us that you guys didn't block us in, you didn't barricade us in, you guys had police protection over there. You guys did not have any of that over there for us.
Man.
That's my point in making. You know, it's just sad that they can do something like that and then expect a criminal to say in the court of law, hey, I'm guilty.
I mean, it's gotta be.
Are you dealing with pest or wildlife issues on your property? Call us at 763-328-0156 or scan the QR code to learn more.
Thanks again for joining us on Homegrown Hustle. Our local business community thrives because of the brilliant leaders right here in our backyard. And it's been an absolute privilege to provide them with a platform to share their invaluable expertise. Stay tuned for more insight, wisdom, and inspiration from our local business champions. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us on your favorite podcast platform. Together, we'll continue to nurture and expand our homegrown success stories. Matt Eichmann signing off until our next insightful episode.